Well, I have been seriously considering making this into a distant mountain range here. And then I decided not to do that. I would really like more of the feeling of southern Gulf Islands. And I'd like to make this more sky. As I mentioned, I'm going to have to push some of these colors, maybe just the odd bit of them here and there, into the blue sky. Likewise, I'm going to have to take some of these colors and push them into the orange-ish area here, because I want to remove that feeling. Lines are very soft down here, just kind of blending a little bit. They'll become a little bit harder, but not too much as we go up there. And even if it looks a little too strong for now, once we get into the actual terra firma, I'm going to be using very hard lines along here, because this is really ultimately our subject matter, the most important subject matter, the strongest. So we're going to have to use the hardest lines and the highest drama right in this area. Once that's in, everything else should wash out a little bit. I've switched to a smaller knife now because I'm going to carve around these trees. I'm using cobalt blue and raw umber and alizarin crimson across the entire bottom here, actually. You know, this lower cloud. I'm going, and I've added a bit of white. I've added a bit more white around these trees. Mostly it's going to be here because I want the silhouette of these strong trees to stand out. I think it's kind of important that it looks quite strong on the painting. It's a big painting. It needs to have some areas that just stand out unapologetically. Even though, you know, what I'm painting right now is nowhere near the focal area. Well, it's not true actually. It's kind of adjacent to it, but it is off the edge of the painting. So here, let's cut into that just a little bit. I can always go into it more later, but for the time being, I don't want it to look too smooth, but I also really don't want too much detail in it. I am going higher value at the moment because I want these trees to stand out. And once I've done my little fancy carving around them, I'll take my slightly larger knife and boldly go out into the broader area. That knife really doesn't hold a lot of paint. Or put it this way, if you load a lot of paint onto this knife, you can't cut in around areas and do a good job of it because you've got, well, as with anything, you'll end up with a loss of control over where you lay your paint. So it's just simply some labor that we all have to put up with. Not the worst thing. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I just exaggerated what I do sometimes, and that is I'll lay, see, I've got this little satellite pile. I've taken it off of my palette and just put it on the canvas, and I can dip into it so I don't have to go all the way back to my palette to grab anything. It's sitting right there, ready for my use. Okay, and we're slowly going down in value as we move off to the left. Okay, now I can get back to using a larger knife. But what I am going to do as well, because I'm not going to be painting these trees tonight, I don't want ridges of paint adjacent to my lines, adjacent to where the trees have been washed in. So, here we go again. Okay, it's an aggressive canvas, it's captured enough paint. We don't have to worry when we scrape about actually removing colors, because that canvas has already grabbed those colors and locked them in. The only way I could pull the colors off the canvas now is to take a rag and some turpentine and wipe it off. And I still wouldn't get it, without a lot of work, I still wouldn't get it out of there. Well, I'm just slowly pecking away at this, covering some ground. Still using some raw umber, alizarin crimson, and cobalt blue. There's a lot of weight up here right now because I've lightened this, but this will become even lighter. I'm contemplating bringing more of this color back into here. I held off on these two dot spots. You know, I was going to put some of this in here. I may still, I'm not sure yet. But for the moment, I think we'll just ignore them and get the area around it painted in. As you can see, I've got, you know, a little bit of, what is this, mostly alizarin crimson and raw umber with a hint of cobalt blue down here, just some variety of shape. And I've broken this line into this mass, you know, just with a few little flecks here and there. So that kind of changes it from a possibility of distant mountains to clouds. And I'll continue to do that as I work my, you know, where I deem it appropriate, as I work my way around. It's slow going, you know, maybe not the most interesting, but hey, It all has to be done, right? Get a little bit lighter as we go up here. It might be too light. I'm not too sure. It's a bit dangerous if you go too light, but I'm pretty sure I want to take a lot of weight out of this area. And putting light in is one of the better ways of doing it. Stay. Fairly neutral, fairly cold. Even though, well, this is a little warmer than this, but you know, I don't want to go any warmer than that. I don't want to match this. In fact, I've been contemplating cooling off this area as well, and up top. It's very brown. It might be fine. I'm going to reserve judgment on that until I've got more ground covered. Going through a lot of raw umber right now. Crimson, cobalt blue, blah blah blah. Keeping the sky busy, hopefully not too busy. Okay, keeping the sky interesting, hopefully not too busy. Okay. Well, I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay. You know, sorry I don't have sort of more jolts per minute available for you, but it's a large painting, there's a lot of area to cover, and I do not want to use a larger knife right now. I kind of like the look of what we're doing, so I'm not going to change that. I like this sort of, what do we call it, tapestry-ish look. If I were to use a broader knife right now and go into some bright and strong strokes, I would fear that they would overtake. They'd become too strong, too powerful for other areas in the painting. Now, if the whole painting was was done with a much larger knife, I suppose that would be fine, but it's not, so. I'll just stick with what we've got. If it's working, don't fix it. Yeah, you know, I like this look of things sweeping up, but it's very vertical right now, and it's very heavy right now. So if I can still, you know, still convey the notion, or I think it's obvious now, this cloud is much closer than this one, so it's two separate clouds. But if this line can be continued in the design of this cloud and just do this, it helps to unify this cloud with the rest of the painting. And just supports the design. Okay, a whole bunch more ultramarine blue. I know, cobalt blue and raw umber. You know, except for the bluer area off to the right, I haven't touched any ultramarine blue for any of this. This is all cobalt blue that I'm using. Yeah, I like that. So in my playing up here, I've taken a bit of a break now, gotten away from the painting, and I've come back to look at it. And what I realized after the break, didn't realize while I was painting it because I wasn't standing back, I wasn't taking a break, is that I was going lighter here because I didn't want too much weight, too much heft here. Because I was standing here focused on what I was painting, I neglected to stand back and look at the painting as a whole. Now that I'm back and having a look at it, I realize I will have more than enough strength here to counter this weight. This is going to be far more powerful. Not a problem at all. So if it comes down and a little bit too vertically, fine. I'm going to take some of these colors and I'm going to darken this edge where these two meet. And I think it's not going to be a problem now. Again, you know, just failure to stop. And not just stop, and not even just back up, but get out of the studio. Spend 10 or 15 minutes elsewhere, and then come back in and have another look. Talk to you soon.